not to be confused with Star Fox, the Marvel superhero, the Paul Anderson novel The Star Fox the 1983 Atari 2600 game, or Star Fox the 1987 computer game. Why don't people talk more about Star Fox? It's really interesting to me because it's a very strange series. I think Fox McCloud is certainly one of the most iconic video game characters to ever exist, and he's even having his moment in the spotlight right now with his appearance in the Mario movie, followed by the announcement of his first new game in a decade. Like literally the day after I started writing for this video, they announced that Glenn Powell would be Fox in the Mario movie. Then a month later, while I'm still working on the video on and off, he gets a brand new game announcement. I know that was forever ago now, and this video is coming out like the week of release, but I've been busy, okay, it's fine. I've been busy. I think it's fair to say that to a lot of people, me included, he's probably most well known for being the character of choice for kinda these over-competitive, try-hardy type of players in Smash, especially Melee, which is one of the most enduring fighting games of all time. But it's interesting because largely people seem to give his home series little consideration. Although Fox McCloud is not the only member on the Smash roster to be more popular through Smash than their own games, I think Star Fox is an especially strange franchise, even in comparison to other Smash mainstays' home games. Star Fox is in a weird space for me as a franchise because, on one hand, Fox McCloud is important and iconic, enough to be kept in the public consciousness, but on the other hand, he's really only very prevalent through his appearances in other IP, and he himself gets very few titles. Something else that's strange about Star Fox is that most of its entries, including the upcoming game, consist of pretty much all remakes. Mostly remakes of 64, which in and of itself was pretty much a redo of the first game with some elements of the, at the time, unreleased Star Fox 2. Maybe it wouldn't be odd for a series with a wider library like Zelda, for example, has a couple of remakes under its belt, with another Ocarina remake on the way, and Mario and Metroid have gotten several remakes too in their lifetimes. But for a series with as few releases as Star Fox, the amount of remakes stands out to me. In the 30 years of Fox's existence, there's been only 9 titles, including the upcoming Star Fox, which again is another remake of Star Fox 64. In comparison to a lot of Nintendo's big franchises, this is kind of a low amount of titles, and in the same time span that Star Fox released every single one of its titles, the mainline Mario series has received around a dozen entries with dozens more spin-offs. The Zelda franchise stands at around 20 releases, and Metroid has around 13 games in the same time frame. So as you can pretty plainly see, the lineup of Star Fox games is fairly slim as far as other Nintendo mainstays go. It's become a bit of a fixation for me as of late. People just don't really seem to talk about this franchise very much. I mean, at least in the sort of corners of the internet that I find myself in, which I think I absolutely am in the type of spaces that I would expect people to talk about the series, but it has had a bit of an uptick now with the announcement of the new game, obviously, but I feel like I would have heard people discuss these games more prior to the new announcement. But hey, I mean, maybe it's just because I wasn't a fan until making this video. I mean, I've dabbled. I've been a Falco main on Ultimate for a while, and I did beat the original game once on my mini SNES, but that's kind of the extent of my familiarity. It's a deeply fascinating series to me, so I thought, hey, you know, why don't I make the kind of video about Star Fox that I'd want to watch? So that's what I'm doing. In this series, I'm going to cover the Star Fox games with the asterisk that I'm probably not going to be covering the new one because I don't have a Switch 2, and to be honest, I'm not really interested in it, but this video will be about Star Fox and Star Fox 64, and in future videos, I will be covering the rest of the series in a second and a third part. So rest assured, all 5 Star Fox Command fans, I will be covering your game. That's enough of a preamble though. Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to Joegie's Star Fox Retrospective. Originally released in 1993, Star Fox was developed by Argonaut Games in association with Nintendo. It's probably most well known for its use of the Super Effects chip, which was developed at the same time as Star Fox was by Argonaut. The chip was a first-of-its-kind processor added to certain game cartridges, which allowed the SNES to render 3D objects, which must have been super cool and crazy at the time. Like, imagine you're 10 years old and for your entire life, video games have just been almost exclusively like side-scrollers or top-down games, and then you see this. Star Fox was, in fact, the first game to use the Super Effects chip, and honestly is probably still the most notable title to use it, besides Yoshi's Island, I guess. FX games are kind of their own whole can of worms, with a couple of quality titles in there, as well as like a bunch of canceled games, and there's also a rejected pitch for a 3D Yoshi game by Argonaut that would have used the technology, but that eventually evolved, oddly enough, into the ever-iconic Oni Plays classic, Croc, Legend of the Gobbles for PS1.
Look, we're in Iraq. No, I'm just kidding, but it's cool level design.
With the power of the Super Effects chip, Nintendo had something truly special on their hands, and they put out what is one of my favorite retro games ever. It's just such a pure experience. There's so many of the things that make a game work for me. The story is admittedly bare bones and mostly comes from the manual, but for what it is, I think it works. We follow Team Star Fox, who are, according to the manual, a group of adventurers with outstanding combat skill. They get recruited by Cornerian General Pepper to fight the Mad Ape Andross, a brilliant scientist who is banished to the planet Venom for his repeated harmful experiments at the heart of the largest city in Corneria, and re-emerged with a massive army to take over the Lilat system. Our heroes have to fight through the Lilat system, going from planet to planet, taking out Andross's forces, and crippling his empire, culminating ultimately in the defeat of Andross on Venom. While the game does have a low frame rate, it still feels pretty nice to me personally. I know it makes the game kind of unplayable for a lot of people, but I don't mind it, and the game is entirely designed around the restraints, so I think it works. It's really a miracle they got this thing to work at all, to be honest. The shooting is satisfying, the boss fights are mostly pretty fair, maybe a bit tedious while you wait for them to reveal their big video game weak spot. The flying feels pretty nice, and I love the implementation of Team Star Fox. Composed of the meek and adorable Slippy Toad, Peppy Hare, the wizened R-Wing pilot and a friend of Fox's father, and last but certainly not least, we have, of course, Falco Lombardi, who is obviously iconic in his own right. He's certainly very cocky, but he acts as a friendly rival to Fox as well. Functionally, your squad mates on Team Star Fox may help you out by shooting down enemies you miss, and that does contribute to your score, which is the primary way you receive extra lives. The inherent gameplay value they provide, as well as their appeal as characters, make you want to help them out, which is cool because it kind of grounds you into the role of Fox by making you care about his friends, as if they're yours. They make it so you don't just rocket boost through the whole level while ignoring your teammates, which is a pretty good bit of game design to me. It's quite a short game too, which I appreciate, if only for the sake that I have to beat 8 of these games for the series, and it took me only 1 or 2 hours to beat the game on each flight course. There's really just something to the quality of the simple 3D graphics and the super awesome sprite work, as well as Nintendo's always excellent world and character design. Nintendo recognized these strengths at the time, with Shigeru Miyamoto saying in an interview, "The graphics in Star Fox look a lot better to the person playing the game than to someone who sees a still screenshot. The graphics look better in motion. At first glance, the graphics might appear kind of clumsy and amateurish, but once it charms you, you'll see it's quite well done." Star Fox was heavily inspired by the development team's love for the science fiction of their youth, such as the Star Wars films and Thunderbirds, a strange British puppet show about a team of pilots from the 60s. Another inspiration is Japanese folktales and a shrine near Nintendo's offices. The Fushimi Inari Shrine is dedicated to a Shinto deity known as Inari, who is known prominently as the god of rice. Foxes, or kitsune, are often seen as his messenger, and these foxes, of course, are the inspiration as the main man himself, Fox McCloud. Actually, if you look at some pictures of this shrine, you can see the torii gates that inspired a lot of the obstacles that you fly through on Corneria, which I adore. It's super cool. In an Iwata Asks interview, Mitsuhiro Tanaka states that for the design of Peppy and Falco, character and graphic designer Takaya Imamura drew upon folktales, likely being the story of the white hair of Inaba for Peppy and the story of Momotaro for Falco. Imamura designed Falco as a pheasant, so despite his name, he's actually not a falcon, which is where I get the Momotaro connection, as the story features a pheasant predominantly. Even the Wikipedia article for Star Fox 64 gets the pheasant thing wrong, so if anyone is so inclined to go fix that, go ahead. You'll be making history, pal. The rest of the core cast are inspired by a variety of things. Slippy's origin is kind of distinct from a lot of the others, as he wasn't designed after Japanese folklore, But instead, after a member of the dev team at Nintendo who had used toads as a sort of personal mascot on memos and company documents. So Shigeru Miyamoto asked Imamura to drop a toad character. The idea behind Andros being a monkey and General Pepper being a dog comes from a Japanese expression of monkeys and dogs not getting along, which is not unlike the English phrase, fighting like cats and dogs. As a pretty big Star Wars fan myself, a lot of the influences come through like pretty clearly in a lot of elements of the game. The R-Wings are pretty obviously kind of drawing from Star Wars' X-Wings, as well as Andros's fleet, his armada, harkening back to Imperial Star Destroyers and such. And you even end up blowing up the atomic core, which is basically down to a T the Death Star 2's core, albeit with some cartoon laser beams, so you actually have to dodge something. And there's actually kind of a threat in the boss. The Thunderbird's influence is largely lost on me as someone who's not born during the baby boom, and I'm not putting myself through this show for the sake of a YouTube video. These episodes are 50 minutes long, and there's like 100 of them. Jesus. From what I gather, though, basic elements of it are also barely obviously present in Star Fox, you know, like a crack team of pilots and puppets and so forth. Side note, I really just want to talk for a second about the promo material for this game. Obviously, everyone loves the puppets. The puppets are rad. They have unfortunately been destroyed. It was confirmed this year, I think, but the art and promo material they made for this game are so rad. Like, Nintendo has their manuals up on their websites, archived. So if you haven't, do yourself a favor and go read through the Star Fox manual. After this video, of course, gotta get that viewer retention, baby. Regardless, some phenomenal stuff in there. Here's some other neat stuff about this game I wanted to talk about. It first debuted at the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, in 1993, alongside the live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie. So, you know, Star Fox and Mario movie have been linked for 33 years. Ain't that neat? A couple years prior at CES, Argonaut founder Jez San had shown up to Nintendo's booth and shown off his game Star Glider, which was a combat flight game much like Star Fox. The person he showed it off to ended up being Don James, who was executive vice president of Nintendo of America at the time. This demonstration really impressed Don James, which ultimately led to Jez getting on a flight to Japan to meet with the then president of Nintendo Japan, Hiroshi Yamauchi, ultimately culminating in the development of Star Fox. During the weekend of April 30th to May 2nd in 1993, just around the launch of the game, there was a contest known as the Super Star Fox Weekend Competition, which was held by Nintendo at over 1,500 participating game stores throughout the US. Attendees would play a special version of Star Fox, competing for a high score, and every competitor earned a pin, and high-scoring players earned a t-shirt. The highest scorer got this sick bomber jacket that I would love to have so bad. The shirt and pin are cool too, don't get me wrong, but like, this is like my grail collector item, man. It's so fucking sick. And if that stuff wasn't enough, one lucky entrant got the option of a cash prize or of an all expenses paid trip for 4 to their choice of Paris, Sydney, or Tokyo. The winner, Trevor Petersma, chose the prize money and was quoted as saying, "When Nintendo called me to tell me I won, I didn't think it was for real. I thought someone was playing a joke." This game has 2 pretty interesting secrets. The first of which is located in the second level, the first route, and if you shoot 3 specific asteroids, these yellow ones, surrounded by 4 regular asteroids, a big ol' asteroid with a face will show up, and if you shoot it, a black hole will open up, engulfing Fox and taking him to a secret area, which features rings you fly into that function as a direct portal to some of the game's different levels, so the area functions similarly to Mario 1's warp zones. In the debrief screen, General Pepper also reveals to you that Fox's father, who is not named in this game and would later go on to be named James McCloud, disappeared in the very same black hole. Interestingly, in the Nintendo Power Star Fox comic, which we will talk about in a moment, Fox's father is named Fox McCloud Sr., and not James, due to obviously releasing well before Star Fox 64. The second secret level out of this dimension is a little stranger. You access it in a similar manner to the black hole by shooting some asteroids, but instead of a portal opening, a bird flies out, and when you fly into the bird, you get warped to the secret alternate ending of the game. The level features the strange backgrounds of different planets with faces. Instead of having regular enemies, this level has paper airplanes as the kind of fodder, and a slot machine as the boss, which doesn't take any damage from you directly and can only be defeated by winning in the slot machine. The paper planes do this cool animation where they fold into their final shape, which is actually an iteration on an earlier idea in development to have origami cranes in the level. Some of the team behind the game talk about these early design decisions in an interview about the SNES Mini and the development of Star Fox and Star Fox 2. That stage began with origami. Miyamoto said he wanted to do origami. Oh, now I remember. I was talking about how fun it would be to have paper cranes fold. But that was declared impossible. Didn't work. After gambling enough and hitting a 777, a whole bunch of coins spill out and the developer credits start to play. After that, you just fly around in space and enjoy the pretty space scenery for a second while they roll, and once the credits conclude, a garbled up piece of text shows up and it's a sort of boss battle where you have to shoot the letters into forming the end while dodging some basic enemies. Star Fox is so impressive to me on so many levels. It's really awesome how two majorly different studios could come together like this and not just make a great game, but advance hardware in the industry as well as build a solid foundation for a series. A lot of people would say it's dated, and I can absolutely see where they're coming from, but if you're willing to overlook some of the technical limitations like the visual clarity and the low frame rate, I think it's a great way to spend a couple of hours. It's really intuitive and short, and with emulation and save states, you can easily get through this game in about an hour. It's got really solid gameplay, fun characters, rudimentary but effective 3D visuals, some seriously awesome sprite work, great music, and an awesome base to work off with later titles. It really is apparent how important this game is, and I can easily recommend this game to pretty much anyone.
You are witnessing a new technology. The first and only game powered by the Super FX microchip.
Danger, 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 danger.
Why go to the next level when you can go light years beyond? You are Foxy Cloud in Star Fox, only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Before we get to Star Fox 64, which is hands down the most recognizable in the franchise, kind of the archetypal Star Fox game, I want to have a little intermission here talking about the comic tie-in for a minute. The Star Fox comic debuted in Nintendo Power, issue 45, in February 1993, which was a month ahead of the US release of the game and ended with Nintendo Power issue 55 in December of the same year. It was written and illustrated by Benimaru Ito, who's done a ton of stuff for Nintendo and also has a very cool, kitschy personal website that I love, but unfortunately does not seem to be updated anymore. The comic very roughly follows some plot beats from the game, with a bunch of tweaks and a lot of additions in between that help the narrative move along more cohesively by being set largely outside of the R-Wing stuff and space battles. They're fun companion pieces to each other, and I'm going to kind of speedrun my way through the story of all the issues in a second, and then give you my thoughts. I do wholeheartedly recommend reading this for yourself, though, even though I will be explaining the whole thing, so if you would like to read it, the paste bin in the description has a link to the Internet Archive collection of Nintendo Power issues that I read it in, as well as the links to all the sources I have in my video, which are organized nice and neat if you want to take a peek. If you do end up reading, I do suggest also just skimming through the full magazine. So many cool things coming out in 1993, and it's an excellent encapsulation of a bygone era. The comic starts off with the members of Star Fox banded together as a sort of Robin Hood-esque rebel gang against Andross's army, and they end up getting contracted by General Pepper to pilot a new experimental space fighter known as the SFX R-Wing to fight Andross's forces. It's a very unsubtle nod to the Super FX ship. It's fun. It's a fun name. They stow away in the cargo hold of a freighter ship so they could get to Corneria, which is then boarded by members of Andross's army of stupid lizards, who capture an original character to the comic, Farrah Phoenix, who is not a bird like her name suggests, but a fox. And she is in space, so I guess that makes her sort of a Star Fox. She kind of vaguely a love interest of Fox in this, but It's a little strange because she also canonically looks exactly like his mom, and also Fox is probably like gay as hell. Slippy saves the day because unlike Fox, Falco, and Peppy, Slippy was not in the cargo hold and was in fact in a separate cryo mud bath, which was conveniently right next to the guy who was holding Farah hostage. Alright then. Team Star Fox starts their R-Wing training, where it is revealed that Farah Phoenix is a pilot as well, and she flies this really cool black and gold R-Wing. During their test run, a group of Imperial fighters shows up, and a battle ensues, which is essentially the comics version of Corneria in the first mission. Farah gets shot down by the boss the first level, the attack carrier, and then Fox and the gang swoop in and defeat the big bad guy boss fight. And it's a couple of panels that cover the meteor field and the space armada, and they pretty much entirely exist to go like, yeah, okay, we beat the second and the third level now, so let's do some more interesting stuff. General Pepper says some weird bullshit like, what the fuck are you talking about? Kind of reminds me of the, if you're gonna fight like the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and brother, it's starting to rain picture. Farah learns of the existence of Fox Sr. by asking about Fox's nickname, Junior. Then, with the power of a telekinetic amplifier, Andros sort of projects himself onto the ship's deck and very rudely interrupts Pepper and Farah's conversation by breaking through a window with his big-ass cranium. The crew is concerned about even being able to approach Andros' stronghold on Venom directly if he's able to create such a strong telepathic force, so Fox suggests reaching the planet through the very same black hole that consumed his father. Naturally, Pepper, having worked with Fox Sr. previously, advises against it, but Fox is so dead set on his plan that it freaks everyone else, and in a genius move, Falco begins to beat the ever-living shit out of Fox. Like, I'm talking, he's throwing straight haymakers into him. He's full-on four-stalking him, dude. He knocks his block off. It gets to the point where everyone's like, Falco, please stop, dude. That's enough. He's done. And it's just like, and Falco's like, yeah, you just gotta beat him up sometimes, because Andros just makes him so angry that you just gotta fucking hit him. It's like, yeah, whatever you say, Falco. Sure, man, I guess. We get an expository dump, including how Falco and Fox meet. This passage is pretty funny. It's a pretty good joke that a bird has to earn his wings. But it's also a nice character moment establishing Fox and Falco's bond. We cut to Falco and the gang discussing the possibility of preparing the R-Wings to withstand the black hole. Farah overhears this and sneaks to where Fox is being held after getting his ass whooped by Falco. And she tells him that they plan to use his plan, which they all initially rejected, by the way. So that kind of pisses me off, but Farah breaks him out because Falco's not good enough to fly into the black hole. So Fox takes the ship from him, and he and Farah take off. Pepper's then alerted to Fox's departure, and the other members of Star Fox follow after their leader into the black hole. Fox receives guidance from his father through the black hole, somehow, and his father guiding him is an element that gets later revisited in Star Fox 64, and again in Star Fox 64 3D, and again in Star Fox Zero, and also again probably in that new remake. It'd be really weird if they didn't do it that time, but it's neat that it's part of the series so early. Team Star Fox has another dogfight that invokes elements from the first game, notably the iconic assist trophy. Super big mech head guy, and he shoots out floor tiles, and there's an Andros cube inside. Yeah, that's his official name. They win, of course. The Cornerian government thinks shit is sweet, and Slippy gets bonked in the head and kidnapped by one of Andros' men, who proceeds to steal an experimental new model of R-Wing. Fox and the gang notice this and give chase to him, but they become stranded with no fuel. They are then attacked by a bunch of space stingrays who are under Andros' mind control via some sci-fi bullshit, and we cut to Slippy being tortured by Andros and explains his tragic ape backstory to Slippy. Basically, he was raised by android pigs who got bombed by the Cornerian military, so he vows revenge on him. Thus, the whole evil genius scientist thing he's got going on. Meanwhile, back with the team, a bunch of Deus Ex Machina whale spaceships come to the rescue and bring them fuel. Fox Sr. is somehow alive after his encounter with the black hole, and he became a resident of the dimension he got trapped in, and he lives on the whale ship, which is the only way he's able to exist in our universe for some reason. Fox reunites with his dad, though, and he's able to give the gang Slippy's location. Slippy, the goat he is, breaks himself out of his capture, and Andros releases his hog companion mech, Herbert, as well as a giant fucking kaiju that Team Star Fox is able to just eradicate immediately because they rock and Andros sucks. After that, for some reason, Andros makes a clone of himself like the Mahler twins. Alright. Thinking things are over for a second time, the people write songs in honor of Team Star Fox, and they're celebrated throughout the planet. Fox returns to his childhood home with Farah, and he urges her to try on his dead mother's dress. His dead mom's name is Vixie, by the way. There's not a better place for me to put that info. So yeah, Vixie, keep that in mind. Like I mentioned, Farah for some reason looks exactly like Vixie, and Fox is on some weird Freudian type shit. Oedipus Rex, more like Oedipus Fox. Am I right, folks? Star Fox gets a parade and a statue in their honor, and then, of course, because they didn't actually defeat Andros, the parade gets interrupted by an invading force, so Peppy, Fox, and Falco board their R-Wings to end things once and for all. Upon seeing Farah, Andros immediately withdraws all his troops, confusing her for Vixie, because he's horny for Fox's mom, and they have a history or whatever. Peppy suspects a trap, but they go in anyway, because they're the goats, and Andros reveals that he accidentally... Okay, prepare yourself. He accidentally killed Fox's mom with a car bomb in an attempt on Fox Sr.'s life. No, that's not a joke. This is what really happens. Please go read it. It's funny. Hearing this sends Fox into a rage, so he goes beast mode and he destroys the core of Andros' ship, and then he sends him into the black hole, presumably to be killed like by Fox Sr., I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Everyone cheered and clapped, and they have a happy ending, blah, blah, blah. So I think this short little run of comics was really entertaining. It captures some of the energy of the game, and I like its little strange additions to the universe that bridge the gap from the games. It's also interesting to see expand more on Fox's father. He wasn't really a character before 64. He's mentioned in one little blurb from Pepper in the first game, but I liked how it's done in this. One thing I absolutely adore is the art by Benemaru Ito. It was obviously before Star Fox had established its stylistic identity, its visual identity. It's still cartoony, but it's got kind of an edge to it that I find really cool. And I really like the use of color and framing and paneling. It's all really pleasing to me visually. Like, look at these, man. These double page spreads are so fucking sick. Here's the part of the video where I'm just going to do a montage of interesting panels that I like. As far as the writing goes, you obviously have to give it some slack considering it's a 30-year-old tie-in comic for a video game. It's obviously very silly, but I think it works for what it is. It's a fun, short little read, and I love seeing these characters interact with each other in a setting you would never see them in the games. One of the series' strong suits is its characters, and it really makes me want to see kind of like a modern take on what the team would be up to outside of their missions. Maybe like a manga or a show or something. Nintendo manga are usually quite good, so seeing Star Fox get that treatment would be really cool. Overall, I think the comic is a neat part of Star Fox's history, and to my surprise, there's actually a couple of other Star Fox comics. One is a German promotional tie-in comic, simply dubbed Lilat Wars comic. Lilac Wars is what Star Fox 64 was called in Europe, and another was a Japanese manga called Farewell Beloved Falco, which was released to explain what happened between the events of Star Fox 64 and then Star Fox Adventures. Now, I won't be covering either of these since, firstly, they never got official English releases, and it seems kind of dubious to include fan translations in this, and number two, I kind of don't really want to, but Farewell Beloved Falco has a fan translation that I linked in my pastebin, and it seems like a worthwhile read. It's got cute art. I only really skimmed through it, so go read that if you're so inclined, and I may cover it in the Star Fox Adventures video. As for Lilac Wars comic, it seems a fan translation did exist at some point due to its appearance on the Star Fox fandom wiki, but to my findings, it's not linked there or anywhere, besides a dead link in a Reddit thread. Admittedly, I didn't search super deeply, nor would I really know where to look, and I honestly kind of don't care, but if anyone does have information on this niche piece of Star Fox history, sound off in the comments. I'm sure someone would be interested in hearing about that. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the comics. I guess we gotta talk about the big guy, the big one. Star Fox 64 really needs no introduction. It's so iconic that they're remaking it for the third time, and I cannot say it doesn't deserve the praise it gets. It's very fucking good, but to no fault of its own, it has, unfortunately, been done to death. It really is such a shame the series hasn't seemed to be able to move on from it in the last 15 years, but purely on its own merit, 64 is frankly excellent. Although I don't have much to say about its development, as it's not directly responsible for any major technical advancements like the original was, it is responsible for Rumble and controllers. See, the Rumble Pack was this neat little device that was bundled with copies of Star Fox 64, which, as the name implied, made the controller rumble when you plugged it into the controller's expansion port. This is a standard feature on almost every controller today, but you've got Star Fox to thank for what I think is one of the most underrated features of a controller. Without Star Fox, we wouldn't have that cool part in Metal Gear Solid 1 where Naomi vibrates your arm. So, thank you, Miyamoto. I don't know if he was in charge. I know he worked on the game. I don't think he was probably in charge of Rumble directly. Whatever. Big thumbs up. Rumble aside, Star Fox 64 is a major improvement over the first game, which I already loved. A huge problem for me in the first game, as I said, was visual clarity. Everything's very clearly defined in this, although of course very low poly and low resolution. Speaking of the visuals, I have to say I think they're quite good. The opening cutscene is iconic and it looks really nice. I know it's a really specific and weird thing to mention, but I love how the world map looks in this game. It's so beautiful. All the environments are made up of places that only really require simple shapes, such as like the skyscrapers on Corneria or the giant fleets that you encounter in a bunch of levels. And obviously, enemy aircraft would be somewhat aerodynamic and angular, which all those things work well within the low poly limitations. You rarely encounter anything very organic, and when you do, like our main cast on the radio, they kind of have a very cartoony, angular design to them anyway. So it's not really to the same degree as some of the awkwardly proportioned blocky characters of the time. Not that all early 3D character models look bad or anything, don't get me wrong, but I think a low poly count works more in favor stylistically in the Star Fox universe than some of its peers of the era. The gameplay too is further refined from Star Fox 1. It takes the same core gameplay and expands on it to add more depth. For example, the change of your teammates being able to return after one of them gets taken out is nice, but to me it doesn't take away from how the down mechanic was implemented in the first game by still being punishing in the short term if you do lose your companion. Another great addition is all range mode, where instead of being on rails, you're in a real 3D dogfight, which allows the fights and missions that use it to stand out. And it was a great way to show off the Nintendo 64's 3D capabilities. I enjoy the implementation of the Landmaster. I think it feels mostly the same as an R-Wing, but being a tank, it obviously controls in a much slower and heavier manner, and the levels are less vertically inclined to accommodate for its grounded nature. The Blue Marine, however, I did not really enjoy. Although in theory I appreciate its existence as a way to vary gameplay from run to run, ultimately I think it feels slow and uninteresting. Given the game's incredibly short nature, its replayability is very important to it, and things such as the alternate vehicle levels and the different courses are a good way to split the game up to be less monotonous and samey. The medals you earn are another great addition for like completionist types. I personally didn't earn any of them in my runs, but they're a good added layer of replayability, especially because they unlock content in the versus mode. Earning every medal for every level on standard mode will unlock you the Landmaster in versus mode. And then earning all medals on expert mode unlocks you the on foot mode, which, according to an interview with several developers on Star Fox 64, was originally going to be implemented in the main campaign, but was never added outside of versus mode due to time constraints. There's another one between Bolsa and Sector Z. On the route to enter Venom, there's another side of the fortress, and we were talking about a path that had Fox running around with a bazooka and fighting Andross. In order to make that, we decided to make it in versus for the time being, and that is what remains. Unfortunately, I don't really have anything to say about the versus mode. I couldn't get anyone to play it with me, but it does seem fun enough, and being able to blow our wings out of the sky with the Landmaster and running around on foot must have been pretty sick. The standout levels for me are Zonus, Sector C, Solar, and then obviously Venom 2. I think Zone S is weirdly kind of beautiful looking because the water, I love how things splash, and I like how it looks when you're skimming the water. Cat's a fun character, and the boss is really cool too. If you manage not to alert the spotlights in this level, you get to Sector Z, where you have to defend Team Star Fox's capital ship, the Grey Fox, from several missile attacks, and Cat shows up again to help you out. Solar's really cool. The heat of the planet causes your health to constantly go down, and the boss is this really sick lava monster called Vulcan. Hands down one of my favorite fights in the game. Venom 2 is probably the best part of the game. If you're not aware, there are two versions of the final level, Venom and Venom 2. Venom 2 being the harder level featuring a fight with Starwolf, led by the objectively coolest character of all time, Wolf O'Donnell. The team also features a former teammate of Peppy Hare, Pigment Dengar, certified bird hater Leon Pawalski, and Nepo hire Andrew Oikani, who is Andross's nephew. They're all obviously supposed to be foils to each member of Star Fox, and I fucking love them so much. These guys rock. You end up fighting them basically no matter which route you take, but their fight on Venom is so hard. I ended up taking more deaths there, probably to anything else in the game. Followed by the fight with Starwolf on Venom, Fox has to fly by himself to the center of the enemy base on Venom to fight Andross. The first part of the fight plays out largely the same no matter which version you play, but the second halves differ wildly. Venom 1 has you fight a robot version of Andross in the second phase, whereas Venom 2, which is widely considered the true ending, phase 2 be a fight with a brain. Andross is a brain floating in this chamber. You enter all range mode and you shoot the hell out of his eyeballs, and when he's defeated, he activates a self-destruct protocol to take Fox down with him. Fortunately for Fox, though, a vision of his late father, James McLeod, appears to guide his son to safety. The first Andross fight here is a big upgrade over its original SNES counterpart, which was going for a similar thing, but doesn't stick the landing quite as well. The addition of James works really well for me here, too. It's very similar to how he appeared in the comic, but he's really just a side note and a briefing in the first game. The father and son's brief reunion is genuinely quite sweet. You can tell in James' voice just how proud of Fox he is, and Fox seems to be quite touched by his father's guidance. I suppose since I'm on the topic, I should talk about the voice acting. As stated in an Iwata Ask interview, the decision for the characters to be voiced was quite novel at the time, and the way it was written was to facilitate Nintendo's gameplay philosophy. Star Fox 64's full voice. What was on your mind as you became involved with the script? Giving the characters voices was unprecedented for Nintendo at the time, so it was all trial and error. In a shooting game, it's normal for the enemy to come from ahead. Attacks from behind are one thing in 2D, but tricky to pull off in 3D. In 3D, you can't see the enemy, so attacks from behind were a big no-no. Yeah, but if you have a companion who says, you've got an enemy on your tail, then you can keep an eye out for rear attacks, which broadened gameplay a lot. A lot of these games' performances are pretty rightfully iconic. Do a barrel roll is seared into your mind if you spent any time on the internet in the past 20 years, and people went nuts when uncompressed versions of the game's voice lines were uncovered in the Nintendo Giga Leak a couple years back. I think particularly the late great Rick May does a great job. Peppy is obviously pretty lovable, but he also does the really evil, cartoonish Andross voice that I love. It's worth mentioning as well that he's the voice of Soldier, TF2, which was one of my foundational experiences growing up, so RIP. The other members of Team Star Fox are great as well. I love how adorable and literally wide-eyed Slippy is. He's played by Alyssa Brown, who also voices Cat in this game, as well as Spartan 458 in Dead or Alive 4, so that's neat. Mike West is great as Fox, and he continues to do the voice for several of Fox's appearances. And Bill Johns as Falco is awesome. I love how smug he is, but you can kind of tell it's an act. Particularly when he reunites with Kat, he seems to drop his schmarminess, and I think it's a good performance. I wanted to talk about some interesting stuff surrounding the game, just like I did with Star Fox 1. Much like the first game, there's a ton of really cool promo material. I was particularly interested in this promo VHS tape, which was part of a collection of 10 tapes made by Nintendo that promoted various N64 games coming around at the time. They were available by ordering through Nintendo Power or available for rental at video stores like Blockbuster. It's available to watch on YouTube, and it's pretty silly, but I enjoyed it a lot. Without saying too much, it features corporate espionage from Sega and Sony, and there's a sequence in which a Mario doll is tortured for information about the game. It's quite standard 90s commercial stuff, you know, like, oh, extreme, radical, we're so cool, but it's fun. Something I noticed about a lot of the marketing for 64 is they kind of really push the multiple vehicles angle, which is kind of interesting because of how little of it is actually in the game. Like I said, there's only 2 tank missions and 1 submarine mission, so to see it prominently featured is kind of weird for me because it's like, that's just not what the game ended up being known for. There's a couple of other cool pieces of merch that you were able to acquire through Nintendo's Super Power Supplies mail order catalog. This was a catalog that was sent out to Nintendo Power subscribers that had all sorts of cool and interesting stuff. Unfortunately, in the researching for this video, I didn't find the issues I was looking for on the Internet Archive, but a handful of issues were available to download on retromags.com. You just can't view them there, so I went ahead and uploaded them to the Internet Archive with proper credit, of course, but this is my first time doing anything like this, so I'm not sure if I got everything entirely right, but I probably didn't, but like, I thought I'd do my part to make this a little more accessible. It's an interesting piece of the past. I love this shirt here, and there's another featuring Andros on the back and the Star Fox 64 logo on the front. There's a baseball hat with the same logo on it, and you could order the Nintendo strategy guides through these as well. The one for Star Fox 64 was fun to have a look through. I like this page explaining all the characters' relationships to each other. Kat and Falco having romance is great. It's funny. Yeah. It even features a little interview with Miyamoto, and he's always got some interesting stuff to say. He talks a little bit about the cancellation of Star Fox 2, the difficulties of getting the original game to run on the SNES, and how he thinks the medium of video games can take inspiration from many aspects of film, which I think is very interesting. There's also a whole bunch of stuff about his design philosophy, also Miyamoto stats. I don't really have anything to say about that. Miyamoto stats. Moving on. You can also purchase the soundtrack for Star Fox 64 in a variety of different ways. There was the N64 Trilogy CD, which was a collection of tracks from Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, and of course Star Fox 64. You could also buy the soundtrack independently, and there's a promotional CD called Star Fox 64 Original Cuts. There's not much information about this online outside of options to purchase it in this one review from VGM Online. Original Cuts was a stripped down version of a soundtrack featuring these 14 tracks, and it was released in 1997 as a pre-order bonus for the game, which is neat. I mean, it's more than what they're doing for this game, this new game, which I think is nothing in the States, and I think I saw a pin set in Europe as a pre-order bonus, so much better pre-order bonus if you ask me. Whoa, hey, we're almost done. I guess I just want to give a couple closing thoughts about these games in general. I think they're both incredibly solid and tight experiences. They're really focused on what they're doing, and they do it really well. I do try to be fair when talking about these old games, because I personally love a lot of them, like so much, but I think it's totally fair to not want to go out and play these for a variety of reasons. There's an insane amount of variety of new games coming out with so many cool things, and they're coming out so often, but I think more people should go back and play these like foundational games, even the not super well known stuff. Like, for sure, it can be frustrating to encounter something like kind of clunky or not explained well, or but yeah, I swear you'll be better off having tried a wide variety of experiences. This is one of the reasons I love UFO 50 so much, is it gets weird and experimental in only the ways that games used to be and are not really anymore. So I think these old games are very worthwhile. These specifically, these two games are just so good. The characters are iconic for a reason, and they have a lot of potential for interesting character development later, or character interactions later, I should say, if they want to focus on that, which it does seem like they do in later entries, which is neat. Also, the music rocks. Like, seriously, go listen to the soundtracks for both these games. 64 redoes a lot of the same soundtracks from the first game, so I'd say if you had to pick one, go with 64. But the music's been playing throughout the video, and it just rocks. So, go listen to that. Graphically, they're both very simplistic. I know I talked about this, especially the original, but it's impressive they got it working. And the games are both really stylistically cool. Like the pixel art for one is just so good. There's like the continue screen where Fox is just sitting there with his thumbs up. I used that in the thumbnail, but it's good. It's great. There was also just moments in 64 I thought the game looked outright gorgeous. Like Zone-esque, like I said. The water was really pretty. Anyway, yeah, that's most of what I have to say. Thank you for sticking around this long. You made it to the end of the video. This is my first video like this, so it was a bit of a ride, and it was a lot of work for me, but I ended up really having a lot of fun making it. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did in playing, researching, and writing for it. All I ask is that you like the video, leave a comment, subscribe if you're so inclined. I know it's a super basic thing, and literally every single YouTuber says it, but they say it for a reason, and I really want to make this what I do for a living. And as of me recording this, I have like 15 subscribers, I think. So any step at all towards that is appreciated. I've been dreaming about doing YouTube stuff since I was a kid, and I've been wanting to do something scripted for a while now, but a lot of my other projects kind of just like sort of fell through for a variety of reasons. If you really liked it enough to drop some money to get parts out faster, I did make a Patreon last year when I first started getting into streaming and video making, but I mean, I know that's a bit arrogant, maybe. I would probably agree, but I believe in myself. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of crazy shit gets views these days. So like Aiden Ross can fucking meet the president and get insanely rich. I think I can make it as a creator. I think I can. I mean, if such a thing were physically able to be measured, I'd put money down that I've put more effort and soul into writing this single video than Aiden Ross has done for anything in his life. In non-Shud news, I do need to give a couple of big thanks to some people. Firstly, my brother Will, who helps me edit my videos, and he reviewed the script for this video. And secondly, to Greyfruit, another YouTuber and streamer. I emailed him it must have been a month ago at this point. I emailed him with a couple of questions on the topic of making videos, and he was very kind. He was kind enough to respond and provide some really helpful advice. He's one of my personal favorites. He's really funny. Seems like a nice guy. He puts out a lot of good videos, and his NES Zapper video was like the direct inspiration for me starting this video. That and the Narrow Star Fox Zero video. I will say, Greyfruit has to play double the amount of games I have to for his video. And due to how the Zapper operates, he had to physically own and play every real game on real hardware. So I suppose I did have it easy in relative terms. I just emulated it. I'm sorry, Nintendo purists. I don't have the money for that. All the B-roll footage as well as my sources, like I said, were in a paste bin below. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, and I encourage you to check it out. If you're wondering when part 2 is coming out, I honestly have no time frame for you. I've been working on this for more than 2 months in bits and pieces, on and off, and on top of that, I had to move while writing this, so I've been busy with that. I am mostly unpacked now, but I'll probably still be occupied with a bunch of minor tasks that come up, so my best guess is next month or 2, if I don't get burned out on it, maybe longer, maybe shorter, depending on the length of the games, and as I said, if the demand is high enough, I'll kick my ass into gear. But yeah, I don't know if the next video specifically will be the Star Fox video. I might do some other stuff. I have some other stuff planned out. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope you have a great day. Keep cool. This is so stupid. My brother, this is the one note he tagged for me. For my outro, he says, "This is Joegie, over and out." That kind of sucks, but I kind of like it. So, Joegie, over and out.